one of the things that I've been thinking of a lot lately is that people value life too much to do fascism properly anymore. Like, Pol Pot grew up when people died very regularly, right? Decades and decades of brutal conflict. Adolf Hitler fought in World War I, a bajillion people died in World War I. They have very low opinions of life. The idea of just getting rid of 1 million or 2 or 10 million people is very conceivable to them. But everyone today in the Western world is so fucking comfortable. The death tolls of the conflicts there have been, obviously an exception I think would be the Russia-Ukraine conflict. Things are different over there. I don't think Russians have ever been too keen on valuing life. It's hard over there. It's very cold. But it seems like for the most part, like this is what happened in Hungary, right? Like there were probably points in time where Viktor Orban could have consolidated power by killing like very large numbers of people very quickly, maybe even quietly. But it just didn't happen. Not just because he didn't want to, but also because the people around him and society in general wouldn't have tolerated it. Do you think that, like, fascism could have only existed in its purest form during that brief window of time where people were very accustomed to seeing others die? Do you know what I mean? Like, it's so much easier to give those orders when basically everyone around you just has seen their like everyone is family members. This is the reason why ISIS formed. ISIS is very comfortable killing, you know, en masse. Why? Because all of them have seen their families die. If you've seen enough death, you're comfortable inflicting it. But if you haven't, if you're too comfortable, I guess, and at least in the context of doing this sort of thing, it becomes more difficult. I know that if it were the 1920s or 1930s, the people currently in the presidential cabinet would be happy to build and fill death camps. I really wonder if, I wonder if in their head they think like, well, we couldn't do that, the people wouldn't abide it. Or they're thinking, I wish we could, but I don't think that would work. Like there's not a disposition towards that kind of brutality. So you're arguing the first world can't do real fascism anymore? Well, think about it. Wasn't that the whole point of economic globalization? You take slavery away from America, where it's brutal and visible, and you put it over in the Philippines or Bangladesh or China, where they have their suicide nets outside the factories. The goal is like, you need suffering, but the suffering should be out of sight because people don't have the stomach for it anymore. If people don't have the stomach for slavery or Jim Crow, apartheid, whatever, and they don't have the stomach for the kinds of working conditions we had back in the 1920s and 1930s, why would they have the stomach for Adolf Hitler-style fascism, right? I feel like there's something to this. It's like a mass psychological conditioning. You know, people are just not... Like you could get those mass deaths in other countries where people are more accustomed to that sort of suffering. But over here, I don't know. American 180 POV on war when they got footage of it during Vietnam. That's an excellent point. That's an excellent point. Because in the 1960s, America was a pretty comfortable place to be. And we thought our like colonial perspective of war in Vietnam was, you know, ooh-rah, Marines going over there, GIs, yeehaw. And then you get video footage and you see like 19-year-olds trying to push their entrails back into their stomach after getting shot by Charlie. And people are like, oh, now my tummy hurts. They see what war actually looks like, and they're like, oh, I don't like that. No. And then public sentiment turned against the war, like relatively early. I mean, Nixon carried it forward for multiple years, but after the public sentiment turned, but yeah, I don't know. But that wouldn't have been the case in like the 100 Years' War, right? If you were in France in like 1432, whenever the fuck the 100 Years' War happened, I don't know. If you were in France during that time and you were like a peasant who trained to become a mercenary at 17, you've probably seen people die your entire life. Like, your dad's dead, you know? Your mom was raped by English soldiers who came through 6 years ago. Your sister's dead. All your village is dead. Like, you don't fucking care. You're gonna go and kill people. Seeing a guy with his entrails cut out's not gonna deter you. You've seen that shit. You've been psychologically conditioned to not mind it as much. I don't know. I came in late, so I just got to the military stuff, re-accidents. My dad was part of the med evac unit for Desert Storm, and he said the most action he saw was from volleyball accidents. Well, Desert Storm is a funny example because it was so well executed from the Coalition of the Willing. Like, we did such a good job. The Iraqi army got pulverized so quickly and so decisively that, yeah, we probably didn't actually see that much blood, right? Like, our A-10s and helicopters and tanks just rained from afar, like half a mile away, and we turned the Iraqi army into red mist, you know? Like the actual soldiers in the Desert Storm probably didn't see much gore. Probably did more in Iraq, because at least then we occupied for a while. Your dad didn't see anything except repairing vehicles? Yeah, it was a very well-executed military operation, you know? Must have been terrifying to be in the Iraqi army during the Desert Storm. I mean, at least you died quickly. Yeah, that was pretty fucking one-sided, you know? Polishing the mustache on a Saddam Hussein statue in the middle of a town square before being atomized by a A-10 strafing run. I mean, at least the United States of war crimes. Well, hold on. I think the Desert Storm was relatively defensible. Obviously, we were in it for self-interested reasons, but the invasion of Kuwait was bullshit. You mean the alley that, what was the name of it? The alley they retreated down where we dumped 1 billion pounds of bullets and bombs on the retreating convoy? Highway of Death, yeah. Not the worst thing we've done. During Desert Storm, we were advancing faster than they could surrender. Lots of soldiers got sued for killing surrendering troops by accident. Yeah, that's always been one of the really difficult ones. Right? That's always been one of the tough ones. Because it's not possible to always avoid killing people who are surrendering. For one, if you kill people who don't even know you're there, they don't get a chance to surrender. You can't announce your presence to everyone. If you're like a special op team that's been dropped in, and you're going on an operation, you can't, like, every time you see a guard, you're like, hey, do you surrender? And then if they say no, you cut their throat or whatever, you know? So it's always been like an inconsistent... And nowadays with drone warfare, right? Like, because this is what they're seeing. This is all those horrific videos that you see in Ukraine, which is like Russian soldiers surrendering and then the drone kills them anyway. But from the perspective of the drone pilot from Ukraine, what the fuck are they supposed to do? Because, like, the drone goes up to the Russian says, I surrender, and then the drone can't apprehend them, so the drone has to fly off, and then the Russian's like, okay, back to fucking, you know what I mean? It's like the reality of drone warfare makes it really difficult to actually get people to surrender in a way that can be effected. Yeah, sometimes you can walk them to a spot, but if we're talking about drone, like the drone is encountering people miles behind the front line, and sometimes marching them to the front lines means marching them in front of like a line of conflict between both sides that basically guarantees their death anyway. It's really rough. It's really, really rough. War sucks. Yeah, yerp. This happened in the late stages of the Allied invasion of France with a lot of German troops. Something similar to the Highway of Death, with retreating German troop convoys getting pasted by Allied airstrikes. Well, you are allowed to kill people who are retreating, just not surrendering. Because if they're retreating to go fight on a further front, you know, like further in. So you can kill retreating people as much as you want. If they surrender, you can't. But, you know, if you're dropping bombs on people, someone might fall to their knees and surrender, but it doesn't really make a difference. But yeah, it's messy. War is bad. It should be avoided, I guess, is my main point. They still have rules. It's important for wars to have rules, yeah. Go back to like the Japanese obsession with picking off medics, you know? They love that shit. Nothing on earth a fucking 1940s Japanese loves more than finding somebody with the big red cross and picking them off. That and hiding grenades under their dead bodies. Yeah, that's just metal though.